Today is Friday, August 28th, 2026. August 28th, 2026. Lake Mead is officially sitting at 1,038.97 feet above sea level. We have just broken the all-time historic record low. The lake has not been this low since April 1937, back when the Bureau of Reclamation was still filling it behind the dam for the very first time. We are now 190.03 feet below a full pool of 1,229 feet. This is not a drill. And this is not just an environmental talking point. This is a real-time, PhD-level engineering crisis that is going to pull money directly out of your checking account, your retirement pension, and your home equity. Today, I am going to explain exactly how that happens. I am skipping the recycled talking points you hear on the nightly news. We are going to look at the federal power contracts, the hidden HOA assessments, and the mechanical failures upstream, and a national security risk nobody wants to talk about. First, let us talk about your electricity bill. We already established in previous updates that Hoover Dam is a peaking plant, not a continuous baseload generator. But there is a massive financial mechanism behind the dam that most property owners are entirely unaware of. It is called the Western Area Power Administration, or WAPA. Decades ago, WAPA signed legally binding, long-term contracts to provide a specific amount of cheap hydroelectric power to dozens of local utility companies across Nevada, Arizona, and Southern California. Those contracts do not disappear just because Lake Mead is drying up. When the lake drops to 1,038.97 feet, the dam loses massive amounts of hydraulic head pressure. The turbines still spin safely, but they generate far less electricity for every gallon of water that passes through them. So, what happens when WAPA cannot generate the electricity they legally promised to deliver? They are forced to go out onto the open energy market and purchase what is called firming power. They have to buy extremely expensive electricity, usually generated by natural gas peaker plants, to make up the difference. WAPA does not just absorb that multi-million-dollar loss. They pass those astronomical replacement costs directly to your local utility company. Your local utility then quietly passes that cost right to you. Pull out your last electric bill and look at the itemized list of fees. You will see a line item called a power cost adjustment, a purchased power surcharge, or a fuel recovery fee. If you are on a fixed income, living on Social Security, this is where the water crisis quietly drains your budget. You are paying open market premium prices for electricity simply because the federal government is legally bound to buy expensive replacement power when Lake Mead drops. But it gets much more serious than your monthly bill. Let us talk about grid stability and a concept called black start capability. The Western power grid is an incredibly complex, delicately balanced machine. If a catastrophic event occurs, a massive heat wave overloading the transformers, or a targeted cyber attack and the grid goes completely dark, you cannot just flip a switch to turn a coal or natural gas plant back on. Those thermal plants require massive amounts of electricity just to start their own internal systems. Hoover Dam is one of the very few facilities on the Western grid with black start capability. Because hydroelectricity relies entirely on gravity pushing water through a turbine, Hoover Dam can restart itself completely in the dark, without any outside electricity. Once it starts spinning, it pushes thousands of volts out onto the dead grid, acting like a giant defibrillator to restart the other power plants across the region. But here is the terrifying reality. As Lake Mead drops closer to the minimum power pool of 950 feet, that defibrillator loses its charge. The turbines require a specific amount of head pressure to push that massive jolt of electricity outward. If Lake Mead drops too low, we do not just lose a peaking power plant. We lose the primary emergency restart mechanism for the entire southwestern United States. That is a national security vulnerability, and it is directly tied to that 1,038.97 foot number on the gauge today. Now let us look upstream. Everyone stares at Lake Mead. But Lake Mead's survival depends entirely on Lake Powell and Glen Canyon Dam, located hundreds of miles away on the Utah-Arizona border. Right now, there is a mechanical crisis unfolding at Glen Canyon Dam that is directly choking off Lake Mead's water supply. Because Lake Powell has also plummeted to historic lows, the water level is dropping dangerously close to the primary penstocks, the main tubes that feed their turbines. To keep water flowing downstream to Lake Mead, the Bureau of Reclamation is being forced to bypass the turbines and use the river outlet works. These are 4 massive steel tubes located lower down on the face of the dam. There is just one massive problem. Those river outlet works were designed for emergency bypasses, not continuous, daily operation. Because of the immense pressure and the physical design of the valves, running water through them continuously is causing severe cavitation. The water pressure is literally tearing the steel lining of the tubes apart from the inside. If those tubes fail, or if the engineers have to shut them down to prevent the dam from being internally destroyed, Glen Canyon Dam loses the physical ability to release adequate water downstream. It does not matter if it rains heavily in Colorado. If the plumbing at Lake Powell is broken, Lake Mead is cut off. The 2 lakes are mathematically and mechanically chained together, and the upper link in that chain is fracturing. Why are we in this impossible situation? You have to understand the original sin of the Colorado River. Back in 1922, politicians from 7 states sat down to sign the Colorado River Compact. They allocated the water rights based on river flow measurements taken during a specific span of a couple of decades. Here is what modern science, specifically ancient tree ring data, later proved. The 1920s were the wettest period in the American West in the last 500 years. Those politicians built an entire century of real estate, agriculture, and economic expansion on a mathematical lie. They promised millions of acre-feet of paper water that never actually existed as physical water. We have been operating at a structural deficit for 100 years, spending out of an overdrawn checking account. And the bill for that deficit is coming due right now, at the end of this year. The 2007 interim guidelines, which manage how the states share these water shortages, expire in just a few months, at the close of 2026. The negotiations happening right now are brutal. 80% of this river's water goes to agriculture. A massive portion of that is used to grow water-intensive alfalfa in the desert, which is then shipped overseas. The cities are demanding the farmers take the cuts. The farmers are citing their senior water rights from the 1920s. When the dust settles on these negotiations, agriculture will have to take cuts. When that happens, the cost of farming skyrockets, and food prices at your local grocery store will surge. Finally, I need you to look at your own neighborhood. The water crisis is not just an abstract concept happening at a dam 300 miles away. It is coming for your property equity and your homeowners association. As municipalities face reduced allocations from Lake Mead, they are cracking down on residential water use. We are seeing cities implement punishing tiered water rates, where your bill multiplies exponentially if you exceed a basic threshold. But the hidden financial trap is in your HOA. Many master-planned communities in the Southwest were built with acres of lush, green turf grass. Cities are now passing ordinances forcing HOAs to rip out that non-functional turf and replace it with desert landscaping. Ripping out acres of irrigation and planting drought-tolerant landscapes costs millions of dollars. The HOA does not have a magic pile of money. They are levying massive special assessments on homeowners. We are seeing retirees on fixed incomes being hit with $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000 sudden assessments, just to pay for their community's mandated landscaping conversion. If you are buying a home in a managed community, you must ask for the HOA's long-term water compliance plan. If they do not have one, you are buying into a massive financial liability. The gauge at Lake Mead is not just a measurement of water, it is a measurement of risk. At 1,038.97 feet, the financial risk is being transferred directly from the federal government and the state onto the backs of individual taxpayers and homeowners. I am going to keep watching this telemetry data every single morning, and I will keep bringing you the unfiltered reality of what it means for your life and your wallet. No hype, no political spin, just the facts. If this deep dive helped you understand the real mechanics of the Southwest water crisis, please take 1 second to hit that like button. It signals the algorithm that this is real, grounded research, and helps us reach other property owners who desperately need to understand what is coming. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss these critical gauge updates. And I want to hear from you in the comments down below. Take a look at your last electric bill. Do you see a power cost adjustment line item? Has your HOA started assessing fees for landscaping changes? Drop a comment and let us get a conversation going. Thank you for watching. Keep your eyes open and stay sharp out there.